Yeah, so you know why we connected is, you know, that we have a school for children here in Lilleoru, and
Yes.
the school wants to grow, and it wants to develop, and it wants to grow into something much bigger. And also this is in a small Estonian example, but there is like more and more international interest also about it. And what are the principles, or what is the foundation here of the program of the school is one part is about the children would learn about themselves to become much more aware of who they are, and how to work, you know, if any issues come up inside of themselves or with others or in the surrounding, or this inner part, what you know what we have here.
Yes.
And then the second part is, of course, about learning outside and learning about nature and becoming really someone who can be to change the world in the future. This is even the slogan of the school, that this is like a growing place for future, you know, change makers. And
Yeah.
and we wanted to ask if you could share the best examples that you have seen elsewhere that would connect to, you know, what we have here. That because we also are now looking on how to build a separate house for the school, and then
Excellent.
how to go about the vision, and then of course also the fundraising. But you need a strong vision and the strong the content first, and then a very good communication. So this is like the context where we are asking for advice. And also, yeah, just even to share best things you have seen or what you think about it.
Well, first of all, Avi, I think it is fantastic that your friends and your colleagues and your cohabitants of Lilleoru are thinking about that. I think that is really great, because we need those initiatives urgently. There is a great need for having, well, private initiative, community initiatives to change the educational system, because the government systems are way too slow to adapt. So I would say the context in which you take the initiative is very good, because it's needed. And I see, you know, I have several experiences with green schools or ecological schools around the world, and I just see the enormous demand that my friends at the Green School in Bali are getting. I mean, they were so overwhelmed with demands, not only of kids wanting to go there, but of parents who want to start the school in their own environment. Because, you know, the Green School of Bali, of course, works very well, but it's in Bali and you need to move to Bali, and that's not a gift for anyone. So now that they have opened up their green school in New Zealand, they have more than 20 demands, and most of them are very well funded. So this is the second message that I would like to share with you, is that not only does it fit in a global need and a context where education needs to change, but the good news is that there is quite a bit of money available to do it. And what is most interesting to me is that those who are the boldest, the more outspoken, are actually getting funded very easy. Because the crisis in education is very deep, so people with resources are willing to invest, were not only for their own kids, it's for other kids. So what am I seeing as major trends in those different initiatives? One is, of course, that and Ave, you can interrupt me anytime you want. You know, you don't have to, because if you let me speak, I don't finish. You have the right to stop me and ask questions. You know that.
And the others also have the same right.
Of course, but I don't see them. I only see you for the moment. So.
Oh, okay. Then you have to put on a gallery view.
I now have a pin on. When I connected, it was you, and I stayed with you. I see participant 6.
We have.
That's what I see now. So I will close. You know, I'm on the phone. Usually, I'm not on a phone for this, so I'm sorry. I'm not very versatile in this.
But
At any rate, I see Stina is there, Ali, Marika, Herman, you. So great. Yeah. So anyone can interrupt, of course. I think one is important, and let me talk about the shortcoming of many of the schools before I talk about the good things. The shortcoming is that nearly all of the schools underperform in sciences. You know, most of them are really not doing well in the sciences, and that is a pity.
You because mean if you alternative schools or like green schools?
Yeah. So the green or alternative schools, you know, from Montessori to our friends at Steiner, Frenet School, you know, all of the schools. There is one, and also the Green School of Bali and other initiatives. The performance on the sciences is poor. And unfortunately, this doesn't mean that they have to know the traditional sciences very well, but they need to be versatile. They need to be able to navigate the world of physics, chemistry, and of course, the world of biology. And what we see is that most of the schools, they have done a great job in making the children enthused about nature and you know, and understanding nature, but there is very little science behind it. And so this is a first element. If you want to do something that improves on what is the trend on the market, then that would really be securing that the sciences are taught with an understanding of the details of the sciences, and not only the permaculture, the composting, and understanding the birds and the bees. You know, I think this is a very important element, because the success long-term of the children is very often determined when they're 16 or 18, and then to catch up on the sciences is tough for them. The statistics are not official and not published, and please don't repeat them in public, but you know, out of all the graduates of the Green School of Bali, one has gotten into what they call an Ivy League school. One. And you know, its parents, of course, they aspire that the kids could have a chance to go to a grand university as well. So sometimes it's not necessarily what the child wants, it's what the parents want. But the scientific component, let me just insist, it's necessary. My son, Karl Olaf, suffered from that. I mean, this is my own personal experience. He wanted to apply for the School of Zoology at Oxford University. And his first interview, he went through shining, because he could talk and he could explain nature and he was enthusiastic. And but then the second invitation, many of the basic principles of zoology, he had no idea, because he just never learned it. I mean, it was never. I mean, the school where he went to, which I think was a very good school, just never made it a priority to master the basic concept of science. So that is the one major comment. The second one is that we need to find the balance in the schools. The schools that I see very successful have a good balance between music and so the performing arts and martial arts. And we call it martial arts, but in the end, it's discipline. You know, we really don't want to discipline our children, because I think many of the schools, we think the old style discipline is not something we want to impose on our children. But on the other hand, we know that discipline is a good thing in life. You need to be able to self-impose discipline. And so I see that many of the schools that have really gone far have a good balance between the martial arts and the arts, I mean, performing arts. And that performing arts could be graffiti as much as playing the violin. Okay, so I think this is a second observation. A third one is that one really accompanies the children in kind of getting committed to dreams, you know, and the dreams of the kids are changing. This is one of the very interesting things, you know. A child of 6 doesn't necessarily want to do the same when the child is 10 or 15. And this capacity to accompany a child in its evolving dreams is a very, very important task. Because, hey, how are you doing?
I came from sauna. I thought we will begin in 7 o'clock, but
oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to do that to you. But it's good to see you. Good to see you.
Good too.
So Ave, the thing is to accompany the children in changing dreams, because the dreams change over time. And this is wonderful, because when the children are encouraged to go for their dream or to undertake their project, sometimes it is viewed as too much as a project, you know, and when they finish the project, they should kind of do something else or another project. What I think is very important is to have a regular opportunity to have the children frame what they feel like is the most important thing in their life at that moment, and have them commit to it. And of course, that commitment will wane, because, you know, at 6, you don't know what you want at 10. And when you're 10, you don't know what you want at 16. But this sense of discovering what do I have in me is a very important component. And this, to me, has been a key. Another fourth element that is quite important. I think in Estonia, you may have difficulties with it, but the key thing is to have really diversity of children. You know, you tend to have parents who think the same, who do the same, who like the same, and the kids are coming to the school where the parents already are much the same. And that's not good. Kids need to learn how to live in diversity. And in the Green School of Bali, for example, they originally had 10% scholarship for local Balinese kids. And they realized it was not enough. Not enough of the kids of Bali, but for the 80% of the kids who needed to be exposed to more diversity. And I think this is very important. The diversity, you need to intervene as organizers of the school to secure the diversity. And if you don't have the diversity, you're coming too much of the same people with the same ideas and the same proposals to the kids. So the parents, of course, have a responsibility to leave a footprint for the kids to put their feet in that footprint. But the diversity is where they get inspired. The fifth, and I stop with 5, okay? The fifth one is the classes don't stop at 4:30 when the teachers go home. The classes of a good school continue when the kids go home. And that depends very much on the parents. You know, the kids need not to have homework. Kids need to go home and be able to talk about the great things they had that day with someone. And the parents are very important. And the big brother is or big sister is important. And if a child is too much in his own little world and going home and then doing homework undoes the whole day of being at a great school. So the capacity to have the diversity, but then the capacity to interact with parents is I would say, Ave, All the parents should commit to have an hour, not do homework, but talk and listen to the kids of what they've been learning that day. And we see that when the kids have this opportunity, now, you know where I'm going, Ave, when the kids can teach their parents, you know, that's really what it is. When the school is also about the kids teaching the parents, wow, you are building the emotional intelligence of the kids in a way that, you know, we haven't done before. And I think this is part of the genius of the Green School of Bali. What they have done many things right, and some things absolutely not right. But what they have done very well is that the kids can go to their parents and they will bother their parents for the rest of the evening and over dinner with things that they worried about, they didn't understand, or they're very enthusiastic about. And I think the success of a school, and a school that is transformative and that will create the world, right? Because that's what you're saying you want to do. It needs to start with the children being able to change their parents. It's the most important. I mean, if the kids feel they have a license to go home and tell their parents, you know, not only what they've learned, but what can be done better and what should change, what, you know, these kids will have the confidence in themselves. You know, one of the greatest difficulties children have today is that they don't know much what to do. Their parents don't know much what to do. The parents would like them to be happy, but in order to be happy and healthy, they need to be able to act and learn how to live. And in French, we call this l'art de vivre, the art of living. Now, the art of living depends on wisdom. And wisdom, how do you acquire it? You don't acquire wisdom by studying Aristoteles. You don't study it by reading about the Greek philosophers. Wisdom is by being able to talk to people who are older than you, who come to the conclusion that, oh my God, you're a wise person. Then wisdom comes. And I think this is something that I must say that the Green School of Bali has excelled in. That is really something. And of course, parents are very much taken by that. You know, when parents can have the humility to say, oh my God, every day I learn something from my son or my daughter from school. Wow. I mean, they're going to be so supportive to their children. They're going to be so generous with their children. And since the discipline doesn't come from the parents, which is never a nice thing to do, but the discipline comes from what I call the martial arts in broad terms, I think this is a great opportunity. So what do you think, Avi, as a short introduction, those points for the not so good and the 4 good points?
I think this is a brilliant introduction and not so small. And we have some people who joined a bit later, so don't worry, everyone will get the recording. But maybe someone, the teachers or the head of the school of Marika is here, or Herman, who is a guest from Austria. Maybe someone wants to comment. I guess this is extremely important things that you pointed out. I see Marika smiling face. Maybe Marika, as the head of the school, wants to say something.
Thank you, Gunter. And
Marika, good to see you.
Yeah.
Thank you for being there.
And all these points, what about do you spoke? They are so important. I am agree. I'm for 100% agree. But maybe do you can explain about these things what one child need and in a different age?
It's an important point. And you know, the Montessori school and Steiner, they have been very much against fixing kids per year. You know, that flexibility over the years is very important. So I think that is a kind of a given. You know, we can't force kids that this year you must learn this and next year you must learn that. I think, but one thing that is very important to me, and that may be another point to mention, is what we call in the pedagogy the mutualism. The kids, you know, kids who are older or kids who get something and understand it, explain it also to the other kids. And I think the sitting in the circle with a book in the middle, where we talk about what did we read in the book, you know, is beautiful. Because, and of course, since we have this racism, I call it, of the 7-year-olds who think they're better than the 6-year-olds and the 8-year-olds who think they're more than the 7-year-olds. I mean, that is something we need to avoid at all costs, because kids of 6 can be very smart and have the wisdom. And so I don't think we should measure that in exams, but very often we should measure that through expression of the arts. The example I very often give is the one of asking the child, could you please draw the house you would like to live in? And it's never the house where they live in. They never go and say, oh, I gotta go home and copy the house where I'm living. This is beautiful. I mean, but of course, a 6-year-old will be receptive and sensitive to other things than a 10-year-old. But a 6-year-old, when he sees the house of a 10-year-old's imagination, will immediately pick up a lot of things from that drawing. And even it doesn't have to be explained very much. So I think the capacity to have mutualism, learning from the other kids over different ages, is a very important one. And I think instead of us fixing what do the kids need to learn, the kids discover what they're missing. And I think the discovery of what they're missing in order to build the house of their dreams at the age of 6 or at the age of 10 or 15, you know, that is where the teachers gravitate around. So let me just say one of the things that I do once a year. I wasn't able to do it last year, but what I do with the Green School, they have 15 age groups, or did 15 classes. And I actually, in one day, spent 45 minutes in every class. And I just go up and I just go on. And so it allows me each time to say something that has never been said before. And each time the children pick up something else from this strange visitor. And you know, when they pick something up from the strange visitor, they will talk to kids of another age group or another class, and it's something else strange that he was talking about. And then I know that within a few days, everything that was said in one day has been shared over all the 15 groups. Everything. And because children are generous in their sharing, and they will, and since the ones who were in group 3 had no idea what was said in group 15, of course it was news for everyone. And there's a bit of magic in the learning then, because the kids identify what they do not know, and then they start figuring out what they would like to know. So I think this is a very important cultural difference. Do you decide what a kid should know? Yes, of course, we should determine to a major extent what the kid should know, because this is part of being elder and teaching the younger. But on the other hand, we have to create the freedom, and we have to stimulate the process so that children can figure out what they would like to learn.
Actually, the next step have to be that the children will draw all these rooms and schoolhouse and all things what they want to learn.
You know, if that's why I mentioned graffiti before. You know, we can like or dislike graffiti, but graffiti kids like. Kids like graffiti. And we just have to make certain they don't put it on the wrong wall. But, you know, inviting kids to express what they want in their home through graffiti works very well. Very well. And of course, now Banksy made graffiti so popular around the world that, you know, kids want to be Banksy, you know, and you know Banksy, the artist. So we have to give the tools to the kids to express themselves. It's not just an empty sheet of paper and a pencil. We have to give them the tools. And of course, they will want to know how to use a spray can. And we better teach them to do it well and have the right spray can, and that one can erase and not the one that cannot be erased. You know, I think there's a lot of wisdom in just getting the kids to express what they would like to share and what they're missing.
Thank you. Maybe somebody else, some questions. Or...
Yeah, if somebody else, some comment or question before I will take the next question. Herman, if you want to say something, you are on mute.
Sorry. Okay. Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for letting me join you from Austria today, from Dreamicon Valley. I would just love to make some comments from my personal experience, and I'm very grateful also for you, Gunter, that for learning from you and for your sharings, because I'm not a teacher myself, but I'm very interested in the topic. That's how I'm also related to Ave, as we are in a multidimensional learning group for the Holistic Vision Symposium together. And that's how I popped into this conversation today. So one of my big life lessons, and I have been to many schools and universities for the last 10 years in different workshop groups. And I think when you give kids the feeling that you are a teacher and learner in every single second of your life, I think that's what you, Gunter, said before, that kids should teach their parents. And I think once we as grown-ups consider that, we always value is created. This is one of those remarks, what I wanted to say. Then I think as parents or grown-ups, and I'm father of 2 grown-up children who are already 24 and 32 now, I think we just have one need to give to kids, and this is that they get this kind of feeling that they can master each situation in their life. And I think this is one of the most important parts which school should teach them. And my third comment is that I really like the aspect of talking about dreams, because I'm a dream developer myself for more than 14 years now. And one exercise I did in school a lot of times is, we call it speed dreaming sessions, that kids stand in two rows parallel to each other, and they just exchange about their dreams. And within this, wonderful dynamic is starting, and the kids are getting to know each other better, and they inspire each other. And so that's just a short notice from my side from Dreamicon Valley. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Herman. Where are you in Austria?
I'm based at the Austrian-Hungarian border. We created a place there which is called Dreamicon Valley, because we thought if there is a Silicon Valley where people do all those technical inventions, it also needs places where people come together to develop their dreams. And that's what I've been working on for the last almost 15 years now. And by the way, a good friend of mine, Julia Weinzettel, she has interviewed you for her blog Task Farm, if you may remember that.
Okay.
And she's also at the Holistic Visions program with us.
Excellent.
And thank you very much that I can learn from you.
No, please. We're just sharing. No teaching. Avi.
Yeah, I guess we have about 10 minutes. You need to leave then. I'll just ask pragmatic question that you say that there is really a good funding available for the bold projects, but do you see, is it more the private persons or rather private foundations, or what kind of funding you have noticed?
It's private persons. Really, it's private. There is a lot of money involved. You know, the official market of investing in schools had a major setback. I don't think it's a setback, but they think it's a major setback when the president of China said that he does not accept that people get rich on teaching others. And so billions of value was knocked off of these private school networks around the world because the Chinese don't want anyone to get rich on education. And so this was a very bold statement. Nevertheless, there is a lot of commitment from many, I would say, families who have witnessed the importance of a different type of education. Germany, particularly, is a very large investor in private investor in schools. You see the development quite rapidly. But of course, who will get the investment are the ones who kind of state very clearly what they stand for. And I think, you know, anyone who's come to Lilleoru and anyone who knows you and of course Ingvar and the team, they know that you stand not only for the teaching and the learning and the inspiration and the dreams, but you stand also for ethics. You know, and I think this is very important. And if you can make it hard and people can sense that ethics are at the core for you. I mean, there's some ethical principles that guide you, and that doesn't have to be in line with the Catholic Church, and that doesn't have to be in line with a religion. But if your ethical values are very much at the core, because what has happened with a lot of the schools is that they have avoided being too clear about ethics because they didn't want to sound like their religion, or they didn't want to sound like. But people like that clarity, you know, and I think. Well, I just spent yesterday, in the day before yesterday, I was at the Catholic University in Portugal, in Oporto, and the rector of the university she is the president of all Catholic universities around the world, and they have been struggling because. You know, their education had been considered for many decades as education for the elite. And you don't want to be considered as the one who's only educating the elite. And you have to be very clear about it, Ave. Your school is not going to be a school for elite. Your school is going to be a school for children who can take on the responsibility and the leadership to change the world for the better. And I think there is a very, very important and yet very delicate difference between being perceived as elitist and actually promoting young people to be leaders in the change, because no one is leading in the transition of our society towards a healthier, a happier, a more wiser society. And I think this exercise is a very important one. Don't, even if you say you don't want to be elite, but you do know you want to have your kids that excel in their performance in transforming the world to a better one. And how do you are not perceived then as being elite by those who are not there? So I think this is a challenge. Just because I know the school so well from the inside for so many years, for many people, the Green School of Bali is a school for elite. Why? Well, because probably about 20% of those who are at the school come from parents from Silicon Valley. And it's interesting because they're parents who have made a very important part of their fortune by using internet and digital world. But one of the things they like about the Green School of Bali is that there is really no focus on internet and cell phones, on the contrary. And so it's interesting that this is the elite telling their kids that, oh, it's good you don't use internet. It's good you don't use your iPad. It's good you don't have your phone. And they can't probably make it happen at home. But then the Green School of Bali has taken on the challenge to make everything so interesting that kids don't feel like they need the iPad anymore or the computer anymore. But in summary, I would say, Avi, find the balance between leadership and not being considered elite. That's important. You need to have that clarity in your mind. And second, of course, to find that balance between the digital world, which is a reality, and the real world, which many of us as parents think are so important for our kids. And you cannot prohibit the digital world, and we should not, but we should make an extraordinary effort to make everything else so attractive that the digital world seems so secondary. And that's a big challenge for teachers.
Absolutely, for the parents too. So we have 2-3 minutes. If anyone has wants to say anything, you know, the Estonians who didn't say anything yet, maybe you want to say something. Or
Marika said something.
Yeah, but the other Estonians, and Marika, you can have a second round if you want.
I would like to comment. I have 2 children going in Lilleoru secondary school, and the third one is going there in the next autumn. And the one thing I really like, and what I will take away from this seminar, is that actually the children's day doesn't end in the end of the school day. It means at 5 or 6 o'clock when they arrive at home, but it ends later. And I'm honest, it's quite difficult for me as I'm working 8 hours a day in the office right now at the home office. So it's a big challenge, not for me, but for all the parents in Lilleoru and for other parents also in Estonia who are interested in this new generation and education in this way. So this is the biggest thing here I take with me, and I would like to later discuss it with Marika and with other parents in the school, that how we can change it, because it begins from us, but how we can do it, because we have so many other things to do after working day as well. And if you have 3 small children, then you just sometimes don't want to listen to them. That's honest truth. But you have to, because they're the future. So thank you for this.
Hani is your name, right?
Yes.
Hani, let me just share the following. It's important, if you decide to have this new school, it's important that you define that this is important to everyone around. Huh? Sorry, they're calling from downstairs that I have to go. But keep that in mind. It's something that you will make your friends and your partners in the school aware of, that you consider it's important, this opportunity is given to the children, and it's part of the pedagogy. Okay? Just a second, I must answer this. Yes. Yes, I will come down. It's in a racket. Yes.
You know, Gunter, thank you so much. And maybe if necessary, one day we can ask for a second session.
Of course you can.
And I will
Of
send it
course.
out to everybody who needs it and write it out and send the recording. So we will go on from here.
Thank you so much. And as soon as it's possible, you know you can count on me. Always available for you guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Aga siis have a good evening to everyone. Head õhtut kõigile.
aitäh.
ma saadan selle salvestise ja väljakirjutuse nädalavahetuse jooksul.
ma ütlen ausalt, et vaatab, kuidas Jan sellesse, ma arvan, ta vaatab uuel nädalal.
See on okei, loomulikult.
Aga siit on materjali, mida arutada ja millega edasi minna, et väga vaimustav oli.
Super.
Aga olgu, ilusat reede õhtut teile ka.
Head õhtut. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. And hopefully, when are you supposed to create this school?
The school we already have. It has been 4 years, but the thing is we want to grow it, more grades, and even now talk about the separate house. And it was a little open if we will go for a separate house, because now it's integrated in the building where adults are also learning. But when the school wants to have 9 grades, it's impossible to integrate. 6 is difficult to integrate. So we are like making updating the vision and updating the whole plan and going for fundraising for the house.
Okay, a question you can give to Gunter when you communicate again with him is that he maybe should mention other, let's say, role model schools he knows all around the world. Because he was just mentioning now the green school in Bali, or the green schools which are already created all around the world. But I'm sure he knows a lot of other examples where you can learn from, or where you can get the experiences from.
Yeah, sure. The time was short now, but this
of course.
You can ask on email or WhatsApp.
Yeah, of course. That's what I meant. If you just drop in an email and ask him for other schools which could be good role models for your school.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. So have a good evening.
Same to you. And thanks for letting me join. And we keep in touch, definitely.
Yes, bye.
Okay, bye-bye.